How's it going, guys? Doe here, and today I'm talking about some changes to the Chainblade builds that I've made in the past, because Chainblades themselves got changed not too long ago. They can now interrupt with just a simple light attack, which is also a left click on PC, or a square attack on PS4, and their dash got changed to make it more closer to a dodge roll, making it just a bit easier to use and a bit easier to get into as a weapon in general. Now, the other changes are that there's a new cell called Berserker. This isn't super new, but I figured I'd mention it anyway just because I want to cover all bases. And Berserker is from the Lady Luck store called the Lucky Break. You need to do normal trials to get this, which, by the way, if you guys aren't doing normal trials, I highly suggest that you do, because this is how you get some stuff that actually gives you power in the game, and you can just get a group together and do the trials, and they're not super difficult. They can be sort of rough sometimes, but they're not that bad, especially in a full group. Get 4 players, make a group on the Discords, like either the Dauntless Discord, my Discord, someone's Discord. Get a group together, do those, get those marks is important. Now anyway, this build that we're talking about today is going to be using a weapon that we never use ever. It's going to be Hellion. It's the same build pretty much like that I made before. You just change out Cunning for Berserker. But I'll have another build that won't have Predator, because someone asked me to do that I think a couple days ago, so I figured I'd give y'all a build that doesn't have Predator, since some of y'all are saying that you don't like the cell. That's fine. But I will say that the issue I run into when I'm trying to make builds that don't have Predator is that your feet slot, the slot for your feet in this game, have some of the worst cell slots. It's really bad. Like, you don't really have many options, which is why my builds always have Predator, because Koshai feet are pretty much the best you can get, aside from maybe Careback feet for the conditioning. But not every weapon needs conditioning. But that's besides the point. Now, to get into the build we'll have today, or one of the builds, we're going to have the Hellion Chainblades with the Reaper's Dance and Serrated Blades for the special and mod. Now, I'm picking Reaper's Dance because Rift Strike is just wonky. It's not the most fluid thing in the world, and it's kind of weird to use sometimes. And Reaper's Dance can also be the same way, but I'm trying to get used to it just because it's more reliable, in my opinion. And Serrated Blades is my choice just because it's the damage perk you take. Like, Hurricane Blades don't really compare to Serrated Blades still. And that's okay, but that's just, I like Serrated Blades a lot too, because the animation of it looks dope, and I like that a lot. Now, for the helmet, we have Hellion. The chest piece, we're going to have Koshai. The gloves, Reza. And the feet are going to be, again, Koshai, with the Embermane's Rapture. And for the lantern, you can pick whatever you want to. I would suggest swapping between Embermane's Rapture and then Drask's Eye. I think that's what it's called now. Like, swap between those two. Those are like my main choices, but you can pick whatever you want to pick. It's up to you. I just prefer the Drask's Eye and Embermane's Rapture because one gives you damage on an instant cast, and the other gives you attack speed on instant cast for a couple seconds, which is very helpful. And having this weapon and this gear and the cell slots I've chosen, I will have +6 Aetheric Attunement, Berserker, Conduit, Overpower, Predator, and Rage Hunter. So this build has an insane amount of damage, and the very nice part is that, like I said earlier, Chainblades can now interrupt with just a simple light attack, which you can actually dash and light attack, making it really easy to interrupt, really safe to interrupt, and just, it's a nice thing. Because before you had to basically waste 2 cell slots, at least, or maybe like a piece of gear in a cell slot, but you had to waste some stuff to actually get +6 wave strikes on your gear, and that was taking away from damage. Now you can just have this insane amount of damage on Chainblades and not have to worry about that, like, at all. You can just go completely full throttle with the damage, and it's a good time. And using these Chainblades in particular make it a really good time, because this is pretty much the best in slot Chainblade. I've said that a lot of times before on this channel, but these are just they're the Chainblades. They're pretty much the only Chainblades that exist, especially for fighting anything that's not a Fire Behemoth. And I think that you can still fight Fire Behemoths with these Chainblades, and it's not a big deal. Although, personally, I think that I would probably swap to Frost just because it makes me feel better not to bring fire weapons to a Fire Behemoth, but that's just me. So that's kind of why I would bring Frost instead. In the second build, it's going to be slightly different, and the main thing I changed was we went from Predator to having +6 Cunning instead. Now, the build is going to still have the same Chainblades, the Hellion Chainblades with the same special, Reaper's Dance, the same mod, Serrated Blades, but the gear is going to be pretty much all different. You're going to have the Light's Crown, which is a Reza headpiece, the Reza chest piece, Reza gloves, and the Boreas feet. Now, I chose the Boreas feet because no other feet have a technique slot. This is what I was saying earlier, like, the gear selection for the feet slot is really rough. It's just not an amazing time, not really a big selection. You can't really go too crazy with builds because this is a very limiting factor. Now, in the build itself, what changes is we go from having +6 Predator, like I said, and we're also going to lose our +6 Rage Hunter, and that will instead change to +3 Iceborne and +3 Rage Hunter, because there's just not many options for the feat, and that's it's a bummer. And for the armor, I want to apologize because this build has a lot of Reza pieces, and it also has some Boreas piece. It has a Boreas piece, which Boreas is not the most enjoyable or desired behemoth in the game at the moment, and I can understand that. I can fully get behind that movement of just not liking that behemoth that much. I'm with y'all, but it's what the build is about. It's what the build got, so I apologize. But hopefully it helps y'all that don't like Predator and you guys enjoy it. And there is actually one last build, and that's going to be using the Boreas Chainblades. So it's going to be the same exact special, same exact mod, but different chainblades, and that's just for some variety. The Boreas Chainblades aren't the greatest chainblades, but they aren't fire chainblades, so I think that they'll be a pretty good option when you're fighting fire behemoths. And it just offers you a bit different playstyle, because in this build I'm using Tough for the defense slot, and Tough gives you a bit more health, and it gives you extra healing received from healing sources. And that's important because in this build, I'll be changing my lantern from the Jurassic Mermaid Lantern to the Koshai's Bloom. And Koshai's Bloom, the instant cast deal 10% of damage dealt will heal you for 8 seconds. This is a lifesteal. You get a little bit more from this because of Tough, which is pretty nice. And your hold is a dash in a direction that deals 750 terror damage to nearby enemies upon arrival, which I'm using that just for fun. Like, this build is solely just for fun. But for the special, it's the same thing. Reaper's Dance, Serrated Blades. And then for the gear, I've got the Hellion Helmet, Jurassic Chest Piece, Reza Gloves, and the Koshai Feet. And just like the last build, I tried to not have Predator, but like I said, it's really hard to not have Predator in a build unless you just want to sacrifice a ton of damage or a ton of like good cells. So in this case, I only have +3 Predator, and I have +6 Berserker. So if you want that cell, make sure you're doing normal trials and getting your skill marks so you can go to the Lady Luck store and buy that cell, buy the mods, buy the specials. Just make sure you're doing that. But the reason I made this build is because the Koshai's Lantern the Koshai Lantern is really fun with chainblades. You can do a backflip and then use the lantern to go forward, and it gives you a different kind of playstyle, and it's overall a good time. It changes the pace of the game. It's a bit slower because the Koshai's Bloom doesn't give you a ton of damage, but it's really fun. And I am using the Aether Drive tonics just because the Koshai's Bloom, I feel, takes longer to charge. I could be wrong on that. I think actually, I'm probably wrong on that, but it's what it feels like. But anyway, I'm using Aether Drive tonics to give me just more lantern generation, to use that as much as I possibly can. Because, like I said, it's a pretty good time. And with that, this video comes to an end. But I hope you guys liked it. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating, leave a comment down below on your favorite build, favorite weapon if you want to. And be sure to check out my other things I do, which is in the description down below. But I'm a Twitch partner and a Twitch streamer, and I stream Dauntless a lot on Twitch. Pretty much it's my main game I stream on Twitch. And whenever it gets new content, it's going to be litty again. At the moment, I'm just doing the same old, same old. I do the new trials, and if the trials are fun for me, I will help folks through the trials. So it's a weird thing. If I enjoy the trials, I don't mind helping folks with them. If I don't enjoy the trials, I avoid the trials like the plague. So it's like a weird thing with that. But other than that, I do have an Epic Games support card code. Use that in Epic Games Store. It's just OhDough. Use that when you're buying stuff because it helps me out a ton, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it's a great way to support me if you're buying stuff anyway. But that's all, guys. Thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, and peace.